Okay, so here's how we're doing this. I want to read this down one time, because this is also going to YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Celio's Network. This is a tier list video. So, Tier S. Tier S means best deck in format potential. The meta center... Oh, wait, let me turn on the chat. Let me turn on the chat. Here we go, because this is going on YouTube, right? Okay. Yeah, say hi to YouTube, everybody. Alright, so Tier S means the deck has best deck in format potential. The meta centralizes around this or these decks. It's expected to be in top 8 or finals or win major events, and it's hard to counter. Tier S includes a maximum of 1 archetype for my tier lists. So I don't want a Tier S unless it's only 1 deck. In my opinion, that's how we're going to do it. I think that is fair. You know, it turns out this is my channel, so I think I can make at least 1 rule. And so the example of that is ADPZ in Ultra Prism through Sword and Shield. So just take that example into consideration if you're thinking about Tier S, because ADPZ in Sword and Shield, I think really exemplifies what Tier S is. Alright, Tier 1. Decks in Tier 1 have a good matchup spread. They're usually not taking a 35-65 or worse to more than one of the other top decks. Now note, I say usually, and or worse, and 35-65 is opinion-based, so, you know, take that for what you will. Expected to show up in top 8 of majors, has previous success or shows strong promise according to credible players. Example, Baby Blounds and Ultra Prism through Rebel Clash. Tier 2, a step below Tier 1 due to having 1 or more of the following, and I should say usually more than 1. Slightly less overall strength in Tier 1, poor matchups due to popular decks, or poor matchups to popular decks. I can talk, I promise. Poor matchup spread, consistency issues, no prior success on refined lists, easily teched against, otherwise considered a meta deck. Example, Obstagoon. Tier 3, more than one of the following. Less powerful than the upper meta decks, they may have consistency issues, poor matchup spreads, lack of speed, countered by typical meta cards, unrefined list, overly meta dependent. A Tier 3 deck may have 1 very good matchup against a Tier 1 or S deck, but have an otherwise poor matchup spread. Example, Inteleon, VMAX, and UPR, RCL. Tier 4. Tier 4 is just basically this line. If you can't answer why would you play this over one of the above decks, then it's in Tier 4. These decks can win games, but don't have any matchups, if any, that they are expected to win. Example, Phalanx and UPR through RCL. So I will also say before we get started with this, that tier lists are arbitrary and they're opinion-based. No one's usually ever going to completely agree on one tier list. It kind of depends on how you view the decks. If people you're playing against them are misplaying, what you think the matchups are, what the lists are, what text should be included. I'll also say Tier 3 here, where I say countered by typical meta cards. Countered by typical meta cards kind of means, like, if a card is countered... If a card's tech is already, like, included popularly in a lot of decks. So, exclamation tiers if you want to have this up. I read this before we do it. So I read this before we do it, so that everybody kind of knows what I'm talking about, because if I don't read this, then I have to go back and explain things in the middle of the tier list. So, people will be like, oh, but Mr. Network, why isn't, someone give me a bad deck. Why isn't Phalanx Tier 1? Eternatus is weak to it. And I'll say, well, go check the tiers, thing. You'll see that it's not in Tier 1 just because it beats Eternatus. We need a 1.5. We're throwing it all in 2, baby. If you can't say it's 1, it's 2. Alright, chat. Are you ready to decide what is good in the TEU through DAA meta. Where is Rhydon Snorlax Mill? Toxtricity represents all mill. Didn't I lose to Phalanx with Luke Metal? That is, I cannot confirm or deny that. You should rename S to BDIF to make it more clear what your rules are. Tier S is defined as being, like, either superb or just so much over everything else. And I think that's kind of the same. Yeah, let's not start with Decidueye. Let's start with Inteleon. I think Inteleon variants are tier 2. And I think they are tier 2 because they have some really, really great matchups in the upper category of tier 1, but then they also lose to some other tier 1s. So, like, Inteleon variants are even to favored versus ADPZ, favored versus Eternatus, but then they're unfavored versus Mewtwo, and they can never beat Luke Metal. So I think that keeps it in tier 2. Thoughts on Decigoons? I think Decigoons is good. I actually just did a whole video on it over on YouTube. That was today's upload. Exclamation YouTube if you need it. And I talked extensively about the deck there and my thoughts. 1.5, we 1.5. Here's the problem, chat. Let me stop the music for this. So 1.5, the issue with that is 1.5 literally just becomes 2. People just are stuck on numbers so much that they don't want to call it 2. Because, okay, if I made 2 1.5, then 3 just becomes 2. Or what? I'm even confusing myself now. But, like, when you make a 1.5, it's just the next tier down. So, like, we have this tier and this tier and this tier, regardless of what you're calling them. I understand, like, 1.5 is supposed to be in between 1 and 2, but literally it's just the one, but it's the tier between them. So, like, I don't know. Doing 1.5 just feels like, what's the point of making a tier list if we're going to, you know, not decide on half the deck, so we just throw into there. Back to the music. One tier for each deck. Alright, this is the Inteleon tier. I'm glad we have that. Okay, next card. Toxtricity VMAX. I think Toxtricity VMAX goes in 3. Yeah, let's make an 8.5. Alright, so yeah. But has some good matchups. Yeah, that's how I see it too. Toxtricity would really have to prove itself to make it go anywhere above it. Make them numbers? Okay. That's actually a good idea, because no one will ask for tier B.5. You know what? I usually don't change things because chat says it, but that's actually a damn good idea.
Whatever you say.
Rilla.
Boomer. Okay.
Rilla.
Boomer. Yeah, Boomer. Whatever you say.
Yo, what's up, Satoshi? Thanks for the tier 1. Hope you're enjoying the content. Welcome, welcome. What about tier AAA? I swear to God, just... I'm just gonna delete my Twitch. I'm not even just gonna end stream, I'm gonna delete my Twitch. Alright, so... Let's talk about Tox. So state your arguments for Tox for me. So Toxtricity, is it tier C or tier D? D. Okay, so tier D would mean it's noticeably weak when paired against most tier 1 and tier 2 decks. These decks can win games but don't have matchups. Like, I think it would be tier C because it may have one very good matchup but have an otherwise poor matchup spread. Or it may just be less powerful and have consistency issues, lack of speed. Let's take a vote, because I think it's either C or D. Should have had my voting set up already. Professional streamer, by the way. It's a good thing y'all love me, right? Manage a poll. Here we go. New poll. Toxtricity? Question mark. Is it C or D? Duration 1 minute. The love is entirely conditional, but yeah. Alright, we started the poll. Most VMAXs can't OHKO other VMAXs, this is true. Senti can and Eternatus can ping. Alright, we'll add an F. While this is being voted on, I'm also going to fix the colors. This should be blue. Go backward. I don't know if we'll actually use F, but I'll put it there. We already have F. Okay, we're just going to make this F then, actually. Whoops. We're just going to make D F. That's what that is. Alright, so Toxtricity, it won by 1%. It won by 1% for C. So I'm going to decide it goes in C. No, Rogue is non-existent. Rogue is non-existent. Like, I feel like Rogue is just like a nice way to say the deck sucks, but I want to play it. If anybody disagrees, you can let me know. But, it doesn't matter if you disagree, because that's how I feel about it. Alright, next, Dragapult. Where's Rhyperior V? Rhyperior V is in its own deck. Okay, so basically if it's Rogue, it's off the screen. We're not putting Rogue decks on the metagame tier list, like, of archetypes. Like, if it's Rogue, keep it Rogue. Keep it hidden if it's so good that it needs to be Rogue, you know? Dragapult C. It's either B or C, so we can take a vote. Scissor VMAX is meta? Okay, no, that's... that's an exception because people will yell at me if I don't put every VMAX up here so they can say their favorite is A and then we put it in F anyway. I have to give all the VMAXs a chance just for, like, the sake of not being, like, chased with stakes. So what are we talking about now? Dragapult? It's either B or C. Oh, Butterfree VMAX isn't on here? You're right. I'm not putting that godforsaken card on my tier list. Played Pult for Pog, and I definitely think it's C at best. Why are there channel points on voting? I don't know. I mean, the voting, I take the voting with a grain of salt anyway, but if it's majority, then I, like, accept it as the truth. But if it's, like, close, I just decide on the voting. But yeah, people wanted something to do with channel points, so I put the channel points in here. So, you got what you wanted. No, see, you gotta, when you ask things for specifics, you have to be specific when you ask for things. Because you ask for things to use your channel points on, then it might be this, and you don't want it. Okay, yeah. Dragapult C, that's where I would put it myself if I was making my tier list on my own. And you might notice, guys, after we make this tier list, I'll also tweet out what mine would look like, not influenced by the stream, so I do really try to keep this as our community tier list. But to make it a true community tier list, if you weren't here earlier, like I said, after I publish this, make sure you go make your own and save it, so we can have a true community rank for the tier list. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put the link somewhere for the tier list. Draga is way better than Tox, let's be real. I honestly don't know about that. Like, Draga is really weak now. Can we please not pay for the polls? Yeah, sure, I'll fix that on the next one. Like, I guess Dragapult's better than Tox. Yeah, it has a 2 energy attack. But like, Dragapult got noticeably weaker relatively with the post rotation. Luke didn't want to put Butterfree on here because the chat would troll and say it's S and then have to explain it to Twitter. I mean, you got me. So yeah, Eternatus Kex on Dragapult, yes. Does anyone have a strong agreement on why Dragapult should be B tier? If so, let me know. Or if not, forever hold your peace. Or at least just wait to reply to me on Twitter when I post it. Yo, what's up, Sonny? Thanks for the raid, brother. Yeah, Energy Denial can swing the Eternatus matchup sometimes, but it's still not great. Yeah, I think Dragapult's C. I don't see any strong arguments in the chat yet for it being B. Yo, what's up, Gvel? Patron's build seems really strong. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Didn't Dragapult top recently? It got top 8 in one online tournament. I mean, tier 3 decks do that all... I'm sorry. Tier C. Tier C decks do that all the time. Like, let's get this straight, guys. Just because we're putting a deck in tier C doesn't mean that it can't top 8 an online tournament. That's definitely not what we're saying here. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, tier lists are arbitrary, they're opinion-based, it's supposed to be fun, and kind of a nice way to just show how well you think decks are compared to others in the metagame relatively. Was Inteleon close for A tier? I don't think we could put it in A. Yeah, don't put your feelings in the facts. Alright, ADP Zacian. ADP Zacian. This isn't about fun? Hey, if I'm... let me just say this. This format right now, playing the actual game, feels like dog poop. So if I'm not having fun, I don't know why I would play the game. Like, I have fun talking about decks, metagaming, building lists. At the moment, the least fun part about it is actually playing the game. So if I'm not having fun doing this, I wouldn't do it. So it's all about the fun, baby. Yeah, I don't think ADP is clearly the best deck. So I want to talk about this a good bit because somebody brought up like a point to me. Somebody tried to make a point to me and they were just wrong. And if you're in this stream, what's up? It's okay to disagree with me. That's how people get places. That's how knowledge is gained. Someone's going to be wrong. So I could be wrong too. But in my opinions, so somebody said I went 7-0 in the Hyperlux tournament with ADPZ. Of course, I could agree that it's BDIF. And I was like, listen, you can go 7-0 in a tournament with any deck, especially in best of one. That doesn't make it the best deck in format. Like, 2 of my opponents dead drew and they were bad matchups. I'm sure I got lucky more than a few times. Like, I played well. I played a list that I think is good, but I also got lucky along the way. And going 7-0 with a deck or going 0-7 with a deck one time with one person doesn't make a deck good or bad or the best or the worst. So, according to me, ADPZ does not have a lot of on-paper favorables. According to me, ADPZ does not have a ton of on-paper favorables against the top other 9 decks in the format, at least on the spreadsheet I have made out, and with my testing experience. It has a ton of 45-55s, 50-50s, and 55-45s. Depending on how you rank things, maybe 40-60, 60-40s. It depends. But it has a lot of, like, slightly unfavorables to slightly favorables. And so, I think the deck has a chance at beating everything, but it's not so far ahead of the format where you just go into most of your matchups feeling like it can beat it, feeling like you are going to beat everything. I think Dr. Pym said what I said earlier. I don't know where I said it, but so yeah, ADP is kind of like old Pikarom. Its matchup spread is poo-poo, but it can beat anything and it's consistent. I would agree with that. Its matchup spread doesn't look great on paper, but it can beat anything. To an extent. Because Eternatus and Centiskorch can just go over the top and overpower ADP to a point where it can't come back. Now, ADPZ did not have that in the previous formats, and Pikarom also did not have that in the previous formats. Like, if you go second with ADP versus Eternatus, and you don't get turn 1 Alter Creation, I feel like you're usually losing. And if you go first with ADP, and you get turn 2 Alter Creation, and they have Dangerous Drill to pop your Big Charm, you're probably losing. Like, you have to high roll out of your butt and get double Metal Saucer to Zacian and then Metal Saucer to Mawile, as well as getting the Gust effects turn 3 and 4 if your ADP gets knocked out without Ultimate Ray being used. Yeah, Dr. Pym, I agree with your comparison. Things don't have to be exact. This will be on YouTube. Say hello, YouTube. So, ADPZ, I say it's going in A. If you have a fair argument for this being the best deck in format, let me know. Do you rank within the tiers? Yes, at least the top tiers we rank within them. After it's all done, we'll rank within the tiers. ADP needs 2 Mawwiles? That sounds incredibly clunky, and like you're gonna start Mawwile and or see it in your hand when you don't want it. Sun and Moon team up. Pika was like, it was one of the best decks. It's probably its worst matchup was Zapdos Lycanroc or Zapdos Ultra Beasts. Yeah, Mawile is a great card, but just play one. Alright, so, yeah, are we saying that this is not S tier, right? Because I want it to be A. I think it's A. Great. We're going on to the next one. Pikarom. We're talking about Pikarom already in the chat, so let's talk about the peaks. I've been playing Pika. I haven't played it on stream at all. My list has been on Patreon for a few days, but, yeah, I think Pika is okay. With Vikavolt, yeah, you can't play it without Vikavolt. I will say that if you're thinking about, like, a Lightning Box or a Vikavolt or Boltund or any other Lightning deck that includes Pikarom, we'll just count that as Pikarom, because I don't think, Pikarom can be its own deck anymore. I'm fine with it in C or B if there's an argument to put it there. I think C is fine, though. Where's Stunfisk? We'll just put that in with Look Metal. Like, because you're never playing a Stunfisk deck without Look Metal and Zacian, and I think you just tech it into that. But if you're playing a straight Stunfisk deck, then that's a rogue deck, and that wouldn't be on the tier list. Yeah, I put tier... So, basically, I put tier S there, and even if we're not going to use it, I want it to stay there as the... kind of to show that there could be a tier S. Like, that A is not the highest, so I don't think these decks are... I don't think... Just to show that, like, just because ADP, let's say it ends up being the leftmost deck when we rank them in tiers, I don't want this to be seen as the best deck in format just because it's there. And it's kind of hard to have a tier S deck when we've been playing the format for a week. Okay, yeah, so Peak is C. We're keeping Peak in C. Exactly, Andre. Maybe we'll discover it in the future. I don't think everybody knew that ADPZ was going to be, like, the definitive best deck in Sword and Shield right from the start. I think people thought that, like, Pika and Look Metal were, like, also contenders for it. I think we have 4 tier 1 decks, actually. Let's talk about Centiskorch next. Hey, best in the world, thank you for the follow. Let's talk about Centiskorch. I'm gonna pop it right there. I don't think anybody's going to say it's not B. Magikarp says tier S is the person who played a tier 1 deck and drew the nuts every round. Yeah, I think Centiskorch is like the poster boy for tier B. I feel like Centiskorch is just like the tier B deck. Alright, yeah, we're gonna keep it in B. Nice, everybody seems to agree. B tier, not B. Not B tier, not tier B. Yeah, guys, the real question, is it A- or B+? Centiskorch is tier S because I'm on a 7 win streak. Okay, wait, we have to rethink everything. If On Guard is on a 7 win streak with Centiskorch on the PTCGO standard format versus ladder, it's probably tier S, right? Okay, enough with the zooming. Let's move on to the next deck. Let's go with, I guess Luke Metal. Screen is black? Would you look at that? It was. Huh. Glad you're enjoying it, Grammar Time. I think we tossed Luke Metal up here to A. I couldn't imagine it not being an A. And I love the deck, so I'm happy about that. Hey, what's up, Gabe? I saw your tier list earlier, and I think if any, I have a problem with putting U3 in tier S because the format is still developing, or the meta is still developing, and having U3 carry over after losing so many things, I feel like there's going to be something that's yet to be discovered or yet to be refined that outdoes U3, or like I think most people will agree with me on this, that Mew 3 came into this meta, like the last week of online tournaments, being off the map. Like, 0 Mew 3 techs were in people's minds. So, this upcoming week, we're going to see more Mew 3 techs. More Stamp, more Plant, more Mimikyu in the decks where it's, like, viable to play that. So, it performed like a tier S deck for a week, and I think it'll be knocked down a notch this upcoming week. If you're watching this on YouTube, welcome back, Celio's Network. There might have been a bit of a cut in the video there. It's because the stream crashed, and, we took a bit of an interim. Everybody got their snacks. We had some story time, and now we're back to the tier list. Luckily, Google Chrome kept it. Yep, say hi to YouTube kids. There you go. Welcome back to Gassy's YouTube channel. And, when we last left our heroes, Luke Metal was voted A on the poll. Okay, great. Thank you for catching me back up to speed, Dr. Pym. We'll start from there. So, Luke Metal was just voted as tier A on the poll. Do we have anybody with arguments against Luke Metal in A and an argument for it being in a different tier? And, please let me know. Let's start the discussion. Like I always say, it's I'd rather we have a disagreement than everybody agree, because then we don't get anywhere, we don't have any interesting things to say. Has no answers to Mewtwo currently. But does having no answer to just one other tier A deck do that? Because according to the tier A that we're going off of, a tier A deck can have a good matchup spread, doesn't take worse than a 35-65 to one of the other top decks. So, like, you can have one bad matchup. Expected to show up in top 8 of majors, has previous success, yada yada yada. Example, Baby Blounds and UPR through RCL. Like, I think a tier A deck can have a bad matchup to another tier A. We're still on Luke Metal, because Gabe thinks it's tier B. B tier. Yeah, Baby Blounds is barely a thing. It's becoming a thing, though. But Baby Blounds could also knock Mew 3 down a bit. We're not concerned with the new set yet, God's Cup, but thank you for that input and reminding us of that. I think I'd say Luke Metal's at the lowest of the A tier, but I don't think I put it in B. We can have a vote, though. Yeah, I was actually testing Baby Blounds Friday evening prior to the Hexter tournament, but I didn't have a list I liked yet to play in it. Because on paper, Baby Blounds just looks so good. Okay, so here's my thoughts. I think Look Metal fits all of this. So, tier B, because it's not consistent enough. Yeah, I would tend to agree that it might be like the top deck of tier B due to it needed to present itself for people to adapt to it. ADP matchups like 55-45 Look Metal, but with Tool Scrapper it's even, potentially even a little bit ADPZ favored with Tool Scrapper. Look Metal is a bit of a clunky deck, but I've also seen some horrible lists for it. Jake's is one of the better lists, in my opinion. It's also tier B because Look Metal doesn't top cut. That makes no sense. It does. Let's do one more vote for it, I think. Because the stream crashed during the last vote. So A or B. Honestly, if you ask me in 2 weeks, I think my opinion might change. But right now, I'd say it's A. If it crashes again, we can blame Look Metal? Absolutely. Thoughts on the finalist lists for the Cup? I think 4 Pokemon Communication and Look Metal is garbage. But they hard teched against Scentiscorch and it paid off for them, so good for them for calling that in an unknown meta. Like, I understand that they played the 4 Pokecom to get their Bronzong out consistently, but it's just, like, that's 8 spots you put in there for one matchup. And the Player Cup lists, yeah, like, they played the Players' Cup last weekend, and were testing for it 2 weeks ago. Like, we have so much more information now. Tord's list, though, was, like, ahead of its time, I think. Because he played the Lapras V for the Zamazentas. Tord's list was pretty ahead of its time. Okay, we're putting Look Metal in tier A. Tier A is what I wanted to go with, but we voted tier B, then I would have, Alright, let's go Spiritomb. Spiritomb decks. So I want to make sure that we don't hold Spiritomb decks down. Yeah, what's up, Jenks? I don't want to hold Spiritomb decks down just because of its matchup to ADPZ. Because I think it would be, like, a viable viable single prize deck if it wasn't for how bad ADPZ seems. Yo, what's up, Jenks? TCG in the house? The Jenks TCG from the Players' Cup. Alright, so yeah, Spiritomb C, probably I can frick with that. Yo, what's up, Zorodad? Yeah, we're back in here. I think we lost like half of the viewers, but they'll come back. They always come back. Please come back. Got off work early and don't know what to do? Bro, just stream when I'm done. I'll send you over the fatty host. We're just making the tier list tonight. Because I have some stuff to do and then go to sleep before work. Yeah, I think Spiritomb C. But yeah, I wanted to say that, I mentioned this earlier, pre-stream crash, that I played against Dustin Zimmerman and he was playing Spiritomb, and it just really bothered me how, like, unfair ADP felt against it. Because he set up and I set up and we both did what our decks are supposed to do, and on paper he should have beat a 3 prize and 2 prize deck, but he didn't because ADP is just not an okay mechanic. So yeah, Spiritomb and C, and we'll do like the rankings within the tiers later on. I'm gonna put Sandaconda and Phalanx in F. Does anyone have an actual argument against that? Trolling Jenks. Okay, great. Stonejourner there too, I'm fine with that. May or may not be baiting. Okay, I'm glad we got through those quick. Lapras. Is Lapras... actually, wait. Hang on a second. Stonejourner VMAX did go, like, 5-2 in a tournament. And I think it could be held up by the fact that, like, it has a very bad matchup spread, but can be positive versus Eternatus. Yo, what's up, Azure Bones? Thank you for the raid. The 20 viewer hosty. Hope you had a good stream. I think Stonejourner could be argued into C. I think Stonejourner can be argued into C. Yeah, the deck sucks, but it's not useless. Exactly. And I think Lapras goes into C as well. Oh wait, Stoner is still F? Do we need a poll for Stoner? Or can we put these both? Do we need a poll for either of these, or can we just toss them both into C? I think both C. C is fine. Yeah, I don't think Lapras is F. We'll put them here for now. Honestly, we might end up making a D tier. Yeah, I think we might make a D tier, because I think Lapras and Peak... Honestly, I think these four are better than these, but I don't think these are F. We'll put it in D. Sometimes you just gotta go with the flow, and my PC already blue screened once tonight, so if there was ever a time to go with the flow, it's right now. F is useless tier. We needed the D tier. Do a poll for Stonejourner. Okay. Oh, Dax TCG is here late with some hot takes for ADPZ. Dax, congrats on second place in the Azul GG Pokemon TCG tournament today with the busted broken Mew 3. E, D, F. We're gonna vote on Stonejourner, and then I would like to hear Dan's opinions and talk about it on ADPZ. Alright, go up to the top, vote for Stonejourner. Make sure it goes into the tier you want it in. Spoiler alert, I will not allow it to go into one of these tiers, but I won't tell you which one that is until you vote. Looks like we'll have it into D, and I'm fine with it being in D. Yeah, we're gonna put it in D, because it's not completely useless. F is completely useless. Is Phalanx completely useless, or is it D tier? Hey, what's up, Wumbo? Wumble dude. Is Phalanx like absolute? Okay, D. Sandaconda's F though. All right, let's bring back ADPZ. So, do we think that a deck having a chance in every game? So this is how I look at ADPZ. Its matchup spread is between 45-55 to 55-45. Like, it has slightly unfavorables to favorables. Does that really grant it best deck in format tier? Because the way that Eternatus and Centiskorch, basically the new VMAX, basically the way that the new VMAX meta kind of can overpower it on turn 2, makes me feel like it's not best deck in format. Like, with ADPZ, I go in feeling like I have a chance, but I definitely never feel like I'm in control. And the way that this format is, I feel like there can't be a BDF right now because... so what would I argue the unfavorables are? Let me check. I have a spreadsheet for this. I would argue the unfavorables are definitely Eternatus, because like Dangerous Drill being a common thing in Eternatus makes the big charm like not even work. Where'd the music go? Oh, that was just for me. The music was off. Sorry. So I would argue that Eternatus is an unfavorable for ADPZ. I would argue Inteleon Hammers is definitely an unfavorable for ADPZ. I would argue Mew 3 Welder is an unfavorable for ADPZ. I would argue Mew 3 Welder is its worst matchup. And I would also argue that Dragapult is an unfavorable for ADPZ. So, like, ADPZ has the potential to win... Yeah, so, Gabe, I have Eternatus down as 45-55, and I have Mewtwo down as 35-65. But 35-65 might be harsh. In a vacuum where ADPZ hits the stones, it wins every game. I mean... Yeah, but... Doesn't Eternatus win every game, too, if it hits the stones? Like, if you hit, like, all 4 of your Zigzagoons and a couple nets, don't you just OHKO everything? And if ADPZ hits turn 2 Flare Blitz plus a Zigzagoon, doesn't it just kill everything? Or most things? Like, this format is just, like... an OHKO. Like, this format is just like a turn 2, both players need to match each other's momentum. It's hard for me to say like ADPZ or Mew 3 or Eternatus or possibly even Luke Metal are like that much above each other. If I was told I had to make a tier list with an S tier, I would put Eternatus. If I had to pick an S tier deck to put on a tier list, I would pick Eternatus, but I don't necessarily think it is S tier. S tier's tier stones. Okay, so just throw the entire metagame in there. Yeah, it's an interesting argument, Dan, I agree. So, like, ADPZ definitely does break the format, and, like, that's why I have it. It breaks the game. The thing I would ask is, what deck would you see having the highest amount of play in the field? A deck can be popular and not the best. Like, I think Eternatus, if I had to pick a deck, would be the best deck, I think. If I had to pick a best deck in format, but I think it's pretty close to ADPZ and Mew 3. And, like I said, potentially Look Metal. If I had to pick something right now, it would be Eternatus, but I don't really want to put one this early in. Like, ADPZ is... ADPZ is seeing a ton of play right now, but it's also a deck that people have cards for. It's a deck... Like, there's so many things that go into it, you know? And we already talked about, like, Eternatus is getting better versus ADPZ because they're playing dangerous drills now. Mew 3 is getting worse because people know it's good now. Like, we went into this meta... this is just kind of a recap, but we went into this meta without expecting Mew 3. So we needed a, like, you know, a couple tournaments to see if it was going to stick around, and now people will start countering it. Like, it looks like the people that played in the Players' Cup didn't know about the Mew 3 train. I think we'll leave everything as is for now and continue on, but Dan and On Guard and Gabe and a bunch of y'all brought up some good points. No, I wouldn't say people want to put in the S tier because they don't like the card. Like, because I know for a fact that's not Danny's argument for this. I know he's arguing it because he feels that it can win any game, and he thinks... he looks at it as the best deck in format. And that's why, like, I tell you guys all the time, and I said it twice before we started recording this or streaming this, that a tier list is arbitrary and it's opinion-based, so not everybody's going to agree on one tier list. Which is why I encourage you all to make one of these with the link I post on Twitter, save it, so we can have a community rank, and it'll put all of our tier lists into one and average it out. So if we get enough, it'll make a community rank, so I think that's cool. Tool Scrapper getting revived back into meta. Yeah, I started playing Tool Scrapper like 6 days ago in ADPZ because of all the look metal. Okay, next deck. Decidueye Obstagoon. What do we think about Decidueye Obstagoon? Or Decidueye decks in general, but probably Decidueye Obstagoon. I think it's going to be B or C. It is highly meta dependent, though. So, I think my tier list, like my operationalizing, my definitions of my tiers kind of explains where I think Decigoons goes, because it can be pushed out of the meta by being teched against, just like Obstagoon was in RCL. Yeah, it's exactly B by my definitions. I don't think Decigoons has consistency issues. It honestly sets up pretty well to beat the things it should beat, and if they have a tech, you scoop. Like, that's how I look at Decigoons. Like, it sets up pretty well. I'd be fine with bottom of B. Because this deck can, like, get trashed on for the next 2 weeks. And then people take out their Duraludons, their Suicunes, their whatever. And then the deck comes back and wins 2 tournaments. Like, that's what happened with Obstagoon as well. Anthony Alvarez won a special event with it because nobody teched for it that event. Then people teched for it for a month and it got no placements, you know? So I think this just sits in B. I personally would put Deci on its own as C, because I think people have just figured out that this is the way to play it. Shouts out to Ed Valencia for making that really good list, and I just had a couple suggestions. I just suggest the Fion in it on my YouTube channel, the video profile I did. So yeah, Deci is C. Let's just throw Goons in D, I think, on its own. Like, Goon's not a Sable IV heavy one, just like trying to block out basic Pokemon, I think is almost obsolete. And then Eternatus would feel a lot more impressive if everyone could feel it for the deck. Is Goons D or F, guys? Yeah, Eternatus, I think you would see it more if people had like all the PTCGO codes in the world. Goons on its own, F or D? Yeah, I think D. Because if you go into the right metagame with it, it can still steal games. Like, if we see like an ADPZ Baby Blounds heavy meta, and Mewtwo deck's not teched. It's kind of like, what won the Players' Cup? Luck Medal. Luck Medal with 4 Pokemon communications, Keck W. Yeah, it's D. It has a reason to be played. Okay, Mewtwo next. Mewtwo Welder is next. I think it's 100% A. In coming weeks, it could go down to B. I think like if I was asked again in a couple weeks, I think Look Metal and Mewtwo could be changed, and maybe we'd even see ADPZ and Eternatus be changed going up to S, or one of them. Like, those kinds of things can change, especially in the in a new meta like this. Like, there's like the tier 1 waiting room, like to see if something pops up to S and see if something goes down to B. Yeah, so yeah, I like what Gabe said. Like, it's possible to go down to B, but there's a good chance it won't, because it can prepare for the techs like it did in past metas. Yeah, we could reevaluate everything when Champion's Path comes out. There could be a couple cute trainer cards, a couple Pokemon. Oh yeah, Indeedee. I have seen lists cut in Indeedee. I have seen lists cut in Indeedee, and like lists from like that are placing and/or from good players, but then they'll just put Indeedee back in if Mimikyu becomes a thing. So it has counters to the counters waiting on the bench, basically. So yeah, Mew 3 A tier for sure. Let's go Eternatus next. Hey, thank you for the follow, Billy Bob. Is Eternatus A or S? I kind of think Eternatus, like, the more I think about it, I think it's going towards S. But I'd be fine with it being A for now and seeing where it goes. It essentially does like 310 plus damage for 2 energy on turn 2. So the meta centralizes around this deck, absolutely. We have decks falling out of favor because of the deck. And also, Balelba and Bryson Man being banned makes it hard to counter. Like, how do you even counter it? A Galarian Wheezing tech, and then you have to retreat it back out, and you have that 1/1 line in for this deck? Like, I would say that's pretty hard to counter. Lycanroc? Yeah, I mean, you can be K-Tron and play Lycanroc GX. They don't... I run Switch personally. I think not running Switch is a mistake, but They should start to run Switch. All right, let's have a vote for this. I'm fine with S or tier. I'm fine with S tier or A tier. Yeah, Eternatus should be running Switch. I changed towards 3 Night City or Dark City to 2 Switch 2 City. Inteleon and Look Metal keep Eternatus A. That could be possible. Let's take a vote. That's the wrong tab. Got the right tab this time. New poll. Alright, started the poll, 60 seconds. Make sure you go up there and vote to make sure your opinion is heard here at the Celios Network at twitch.tv/CeliosNetwork_YouTube.com. If you play Sable V, it swings Luke Metal. If you play Sable V and enough other attackers, Sable V on its own doesn't do it. You don't need Turbo Patch and Sable V, because if they bench the Zacian V to one-shot the Sableye, then there's 2 more prizes you can take on the board. So you don't need Turbo Patch. Alright, we're putting it in A, it looks like. And remember, you can always make your own tier list and submit it to have it go into the community rank. I'll be posting this template. Yeah, so we'll put that in A for now. I'm fine with that. Like I said, if I had to put any of these in S, then I would put it in S. Is it only going to be posted on Twitter? I'll put it in the Discord too, and also in the link to the YouTube video that this is, if you're watching this in the future. So yeah, the template will be there, and please go here and save and download and make sure it gets submitted to the community rank. Might as well delete S tier then. I keep S tier there to acknowledge that it exists and none of these decks are in it. It's there to acknowledge that S tier exists and these aren't the top of the top yet. Because if I delete S tier, then it looks like I'm saying these are all 4 tied for best deck in format. And I'm not sure if we have a best deck in format yet. That's just how I look at it. But, my logic can be flawed, and my logic might not be right for you either, so that's why I always encourage you to make your own tier list as well when we're done, because these are opinion-based. Saving S tier for Malamar V, I got you. Let's talk about an interesting one. When's the last time we had an S tier deck? Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield base was the last time we had an S tier deck, and it was ADPZ. Our deck list's listed in order of strength within the tier. Not yet, but it will be when we're at the end of it all. Like, when we're done throwing them in the tier, we'll put them in order. What's up, Dumb J? That sounds like I'm calling you dumb. I swear I'm being nice. That's your name, though. You set me up for this. This was the trap. This was a long con. You waited this entire... Good plan, Dumb J. Good plan. Yeah, so next, Excadrill. Control. Excadrill is going to count for just any control kind of variant, not mill. Control does not equal mill. They're different things. Where do we think Control falls? Since I've seen absolutely no results from it, but I know it's lingering in the shadows, I would put it in C. No, Dumb J, this isn't an attacking Excadrill. It's control deck. Different Excadrill. This is Rototiller. Shuffle 4 cards from your discard back into your deck for 1 energy. Poll for it? Okay, yeah, let's poll. A poll has been called. What's up, Carl Simp? Make sure you're following so you can get in on these polls. I do not declare a poll. Alright, the poll's up at the top of the chat. If you're on desktop, click the arrow. If you are on mobile, I have no idea what the heck it looks like. Luke Simp? Yeah, that sounds fine to me. I declare bankruptcy. Looks like we're going to be putting control into C. Yeah, we're putting control in C. Sounds good to me. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. What are we doing next? Mad Party? Mad Party. Okay. I feel like Mad Party might be, like, low-key the lowest of B. Rototiller's Cosmic Eclipse, I think. No, it's not. It's Unified Minds. Alright, I'm gonna toss this in B. Soft C tier. The party is B. They. I see. Good juice box. It can't be better than Draga? Can't it, though? Alright, let's take a vote. I'm fine with B or C. I have no issue with putting it in either of those. B, C. Yeah, it's either B or C. Those are the only two we're putting it in. Party's broken, has a problem with ADPZ. I feel like the one prize decks right now, like Mad Party and Baby Blounds, like, they're at a point where they don't, like, you don't go into a tag team or VMAX matchup all the time feeling super favorable just because of the prize trade, because there's also higher damage output and some inconsistencies from losing from losing Acrobike and from Blounds losing Fiery Flint. Alright, it's pretty even. 53 to 40, 57 to 43%, not too far away. I'm gonna toss it in B because that's where I believe it to be, and the poll wasn't horribly outweighing that. Alright. Rigged. Party has more of a reason to be played than most of the C-tier decks. I feel like... Okay, yeah, so the thing holding Spiritomb back is a little card called Tool Scrapper. Like, the whole thing with Spiritomb is now, oh boy, we can slap a cape and Spiritomb has 110%. And then 110 HP. Oh my god, I want to sleep. 110 HP. But then your opponent teched Tool Scrapper for the Luke Metal matchup, and now they hit you for collateral damage, and they take 1,000,000 prizes. one turn. Well, just 2 really, but yeah, like that's the problem Spiritomb has that Mad Party doesn't have. ADP Decidueye. ADP Decidueye next. Desi ADP. ADPD. ADPD. That's what we're calling it. I think this deck is garbage, personally. ADPDD. I mean, I would probably even say, is it on the same level as these? No, it's not on the same level as these. This did top 8 2 of the Hexter tournaments in a row, but I feel like that's just Decidueye carrying. Okay, here's what I'll say. If we have regular Decidueye in C, we can't put Decidueye ADP in D. All Decidueye ADP is you have ADP as an out to the things that you can't beat naturally. Like it takes care of Volcanion, which you would play Weakness Guard. It's just this regular Decidueye built a little bit differently to have a potential win con against other things. So you sacrifice consistency for a little bit of a better matchup spread. ADP Phalanx. I really hope you, like, had a conversation with that person, sat them down. Okay, I'm glad I talked y'all into C. I was worried about chat a little bit. Can we do Sable IV? Let's do Sable IV. I think Sable IV is C. Like, it makes sense. Got Zigzagoon, Scoop Up Nets, Turbo Patches. Sometimes you're going to hit everything you need and just one-shot anything in your path. But the deck is inconsistent, and it falters to any single prize deck because you're focusing on just taking big one-shots. Y'all really disrespecting Sandaconda? Yeah, he's chilling in a tier of his own, unfortunately. Yeah, I like Sableye and C. I like that. So, let's do Caparajah next, because I was thinking about Caparajah earlier. I was thinking, where will we put this? Is it completely useless, or does it have some merit? I was thinking Caparajah could be like a 1/1 tech in Look Metal to counter Obstagoon and stuff, and I was like, oh wait, but you just Eldegoss loop. And even if they have Fion, then you just have Galarian Stun Physic V instead. So I think Caparajah, unfortunately, missed its chance in Rebel Clash to be a tanky Pokemon, and ADPZ gusted around it and said, Boss's Order GX, so it's in F. I left Butterfree out of here. I was not having that conversation. Wait, okay, so does Caparajah have merit? That's what we think, that's what we ask ourselves. Why would you play this over one of the above decks? These decks can win, but don't have any actual matchups why you would play it. What attacks does it have? 2 energy and so 3 energy to do 200 to a basic, or 4 energy to do 240. And it has like 340 HP and it's metal. Or retreat, so I think you can use the giant whatever. Speaking of Butterfree, check your mail in a few days. I really hope you did. You would never play Caparajah. Okay. Scissor VMAX. I think Scissor VMAX goes into D tier. I think, yeah, I would agree. I think Scissor's better than the other Ds. It has potential. It's like so close to hitting the mark, but there's sometimes when you need to just bop something, and Scissor VMAX cannot. Like, if Scissor VMAX had, like, a third attack where you discard some energy to do a little bit more when you needed that extra boost in power, then I think it would be playable, or at least more viable. He looks cool, can't be F, that's fine. Paparaja is a big tank that can attack pretty well. The problem is that it's never better than Scizor at being a tank, and it's never better than Zamazenta at being a tank, and it can never be better than Zacian at being an attacker. Salamence VMAX. So I'm going to try to keep my bias out of this, but I think it's C tier. But let me know what you think about Salamence. I think the versatility of this card for builds, and also in gameplay, let's see. Real talk, where Eternatus and ADPZ not in S tier. Biclone, you might not have been here when we were doing the reading the tiers, but so basically I don't think that we have an omni-powerful deck right now. If I had to pick one deck, also exclamation tiers, TIERS, if anybody needs the tier definitions that we're using. Also shouts out to Danny and James Arnold for helping me work out the tier definitions. But yeah, so I think if you told me if I had to put a deck into S tier, I would pick Eternatus. And like, if everybody in chat said Eternatus is S tier, then I would have just said, all right, we'll put it in S tier. But it wasn't like unanimous, and I think it's fine in A for now. There's no good reason to play Ments over Senti. I can name several. With Ments, you can build it with not fire attackers. You can build it with a different type. It's not weak to water, which water is more threatening now than lightning, it seems. You can attack on turn 2 to hit the bench and something else, so you set up 2 potential knockouts for later in the game. Like, there's multiple reasons why. Do I put Stamp in ADPZ? I think Stamp is useless in ADPZ because you want to end the game in 4 turns and you don't care what's in your opponent's hand. If you're playing to Stamp them, then you're already losing. Okay, Charizard VMAX. Charizard VMAX D tier. Yeah, no problem, Lucas. But that's just my opinion. I've seen people whose opinions I value put Reset Stamp in ADPZ, but personally I would never. Or at least at the moment, I don't see a reason. I don't think I'd ever play Ments over Eternatus. You can still snipe around with 1 Prizers and Zigzagoon, and your big attack requires less setup and does more. That's possible. The reason I like Salamence over Eternatus is because in a fire build, you have like really easy outs to Look Metal. Like, I actually think Welder Ments is favored versus Look Metal, while also being able to handle ADPZ and being able to handle Mewtwo when built correctly. Let's see. There's no reason to play Zard. Zard can one-shot a lot of these tag teams and 2-hit stuff. Charizard is F, because I don't see it being better than Senti ever, and it takes too much energy. Is Charizard ever better than Senti? So, for 5 energy, Charizard does 300, and for 5 energy, Senti does 240. So by that, it has a reason there, I think. Yeah, I don't think it's as useless as Copperajah and Sandaconda, just because for 5 energy it gets better value out than Scentiscorch does, so that's your reason. Yeah, it's functional. Like, there's a reason. Like, you could lose to Charizard Salamence. Like, that deck is bad, but it's a thing that's going around that you could reasonably lose to if you have an unfavored matchup to it. Like, it's a deck that you could have an unfavored matchup to, realistically. You can't have unfavored matchups to things at F tier, I don't think. Paparaja, Look Metal, Berserker, Memory Energy. I forgot. Oh, camera! Damn it! I'm back. And now we're calm. Everything is fine. Hang on, we need to stop our scheduled programming so I can show you a meme that I found today. Because it perfectly... Let's see if this works with the green screen up. Me giving mental health advice. My mental health. I was actually crying in the club when I saw that meme. Actually, Jesse, that's insane. I'm going to make that meme tonight. Replace that with deck advice. That is me like this, giving deck advice to my patrons 3 hours before the tournament with sound advice. But meanwhile, I'm deciding by 7 decks and like phalanx in the corner. Oh, you're in an internship now, Andre? That's sick. Alright. Back to the tier list. We got sidetracked there. We'll probably leave that in for YouTube. I think that's pretty funny. Also, hello, YouTube. It is Celio Network now. Okay, let's talk about the welder decks, or these welder decks, because I've actually been working with these a bit. So Torkoal V. Funny enough about Torkoal V is because my mom actually lost to a Torkoal V deck in day 2 of Pog, and she thought it was like some like binder drop deck and then lost to it. And Torkoal actually has some potential. I've been playing it all day, and it's a lot of fun. I've had Eternatus's scoop to me because I just go like discard both of your energy and you don't play it out to coming back from that, and then I gust the Eternatus after you retreat. So I'm fine with putting this in B and C. I mean, with Volcanion, you can do 300 on first turn, with most of the time is enough to KO Senti VMAX with Zigzag and Vitality Band played against it. Wait, is this an argument for most of the time? Oh, you think Charizard VMAX goes in B tier? I couldn't put Charizard VMAX in B tier. No. Okay. Anyway, back to Torkoal. It can be kind of its own deck. So, you know how... Who was talking about that? Infinite Force. So, if everyone recalls how Reshizard, like, the deck back a year ago was called... it was called Reshizard, but it was actually Firebox with 2 Reshis. That's kind of how the Torkoal box is now. It's a Firebox with 2 Torkoals, and in a lot of matchups you want to use your Torkoals. But then on the flip side, there's Heatran box, which it has 2 Heatran instead of 1. And they're pretty similar decks, but one plays a double Torque. And I wanted to put them both up here because I know people have differing opinions on them, but I personally just think Torkoal box and Heatran box are really close to each other, and I would, like, if one moves up or down the tiers, I would probably bring the other with it. But yeah, let me know if you have any differing opinions on these. Just, Torkoal, I've seen some lists for Torkoal not play Turbo Patch, and I do play Turbo Patch. There's your leak of the century. I'm playing Turbo Patch in a Torkoal deck. And Heatran always plays Turbo Patch. That's like one of the big things with that. Charizard can very easily hit turn 2 300, which KOs a lot of the top decks. It can. Actually, great, Gabe, I'm sorry, but Charizard discards its energy after, so indeed he doesn't knock it out like it does to Senti. So, you have to hit, Gabe's like, guys, I think Charizard is the best deck. Okay, next, what are we talking about? So, we're fine with these in C tier, right? We'll go with that, cool. I want to talk about Baby Blounds next. I was happy to see Baby Blounds doing well this weekend, because it's a deck I've been trying to make work after rotation, and I think I just have to accept it's not going to be as consistent as I want it to be, but it looks incredibly good on paper. I am fine with just tossing it right into B. I think B is where it belongs. Spinners is definitely better than 19 Energy, Gabe. I'm glad we have some people with a pulse in the chat. No offense to everybody playing 19 Energy. But, yeah, Spinners is good. Played Blounds today for Azul's tourney, and it's very high rolly, very mid. Say B is fair. Yeah, that sounds about right. C for consistency issues. I think its matchup spread outweighs its consistency issues. I would say Eternatus has consistency issues as well. Like, regardless of how consistent I try to make Eternatus, I still have some hands where I feel like I'm just playing with the mud. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about, but that doesn't mean I drop it down to tier C. Oh yeah, Mewtwo? Mewtwo is like the Dene 6 energy deck sometimes. Like, it's better than Spiritomb because Spiritomb uses Cape of Toughness or whatever the hell it's called, and that gets Tool Scrappered. And also Eternatus plays all the Zigzagoons, and Inteleon plays Zigzagoons, and a lot of decks play Zigzagoons. You draw pass, never heard of her. Alright, so I think this is B, but we can take a vote, because I do see several people in the chat arguing it, the BB Blounds. I mean, how much more B tier can you get? Baby Blowners. A. I'm not even putting A as an option. If it's not an option, that means I would not put it in that tier. Here's B and C, go nuts in the poll. I believe you have to follow to vote in the poll. For Hearth? I mean, you play at least 3, right? Gotta. B, it makes sense. Looks like we're fairly close to unanimously B in the poll. So yeah, we're gonna leave it in B. Alright, we're almost done here. Malamar VMAX. I feel like there's reason to play it enough to put it above F. I think it fits in with the D's. We're just gonna have a slew of VMAXs in here. B? Oh no, wait, those are people saying B for Gassie's can I get a B in chat. Gassie, stop skewing the poll. I'm asking about Malamar VMAX now. It feels like bad Trevnor. That's what it feels like. Okay, D, great. Cinderace? I'm sorry, Cinderace, but do we have a reason to play Cinderace? Is there a reason to play Cinderace now that we have Centiskorch and Charizard? Like, they did my man's dirty here. They were like, oh, Cinderace, meet better Cinderace. I think Cinderace is probably F. As unfortunate as that sounds. It's not F? Why is it not F? On guard. You can still tank and heal off damage. But you're never even doing more damage than Centiskorch does. Centiskorch could heal off damage and still do its damage back and be a better card. Like, it was proven that, like, building a tanky Centiskorch. Like, Centiskorch could do something similar. I think. Okay, I could see the argument, because I made this argument in my video as well on, like, the Every VMAX video. I made the argument that it could still have some slight reason to play it over over Centiskorch, but I'm putting it at the bottom of D. I agree with what On Guard's saying. I value that argument. Lucas, I don't necessarily love being asked who to raid, but I literally told Will to go stream so I could host him. I said stream so I could host you when I'm done with the tier list. It's okay. Do I even exist? When Cinderace can do it. Let's see. Use counter. Sorry, yeah, guy, you weren't, like, really talking full sentences, so I kind of don't read the things that don't look like full, like, conversations. So yeah, we're gonna put it in there. Mill. The Toxtricity counts for all Mill. I know, like, the Rhydon stuff, whatever it is. Mill's probably C tier. D tier! Oh yeah, wait, no, it's not C tier. Yeah, I forgot we have an extra tier. D. G tier. G for Gabe tier. Okay, yeah, D tier. Rillaboomer. Gosh, is there a reason to play Rillaboomer anymore? I mean, it's not F, right? Is it F? Is Rillaboom F? Alright, it's either D or F. Let's vote it up for the Rillaboomer. It counters decks that try to counter Eternatus. So what, it hits Sandaconda for weakness? That's basically no reason to play it. The best thing about Rillaboom is Agral GX's GX attack. That's how sad it is. Congrats, you beat Sandaconda. Yeah, the best thing about this deck is Agral's GX attack. If you hit only F tier decks, you're good to go. At that point, just play Agral and something else. Alright, we're gonna put it in F. Agral with the stage 2 Rillaboom D tier. Rillaboom V Max F. Where do we put Vika? Vika has got to be like the butt of C, right? Yeah, Vika Mungus C. Okay. It has potential, I agree. I don't think it has potential with our current card pool, though. I don't think it has potential to be higher with our current card pool. I think as we get more cards, it can be cracked a bit, but not right now. Alright, let's wrap this baby up. Can't believe Rillaboom is lower than Stonejourner. It's a sad day indeed. Alright, so I want A tier to be Eternatus at the front, and then either ADPZ or Mewtwo. I think this is the correct order. A sad day indeedy. I think that's the correct order for A tier. Okay. Alright, how about this for B tier? C tier is going to be a doozy. Yeah, I think it's good. Mad Party better than Blown. Do we have any seconds on that? I think, like, in my opinion, these three are fairly similar. I don't really care where they end up being. I think these are the 1 and 2, though. I think they're fairly even. Scorch top, Inteleon second. Alright, what's top of tier 2? Inteleon or Senti? Let me see it in the chat. So we can move on to tier C. And I can go to sleep. And we can raid Will. Yeah. But just do it in the chat. Inteleon or Scorch? I say Inteleon. Party doesn't get bodied by a stadium bounce in Marnie. That's fair. That's fair. But so Luke Metal, I feel like has the advantage of type advantage versus. I'm sorry, not Luke Metal. I feel like Baby Blown has the advantage of type advantage versus Luke Metal and Zacian. I think Inteleon's matchup spread is way better than Senta Scorch's. Senti struggles versus Eternatus. It goes even to almost favorable versus ADPZ. And then Luke Metal is its good matchup of the 4, and it can even like lose to that if they tech for it. Inteleon has its 2 good matchups, and it's 1 really bad, and then it's 1 kind of bad. In my experience, Senti does struggle versus Eternatus. I think it's the other way around. I think Eternatus versus Senti is slightly Eternatus favored. Blounds has a better matchup spread. I mean, I feel like we can go back and forth about Blounds and Mad Party all day. Because they're so close. I think they're so close. We can just do a vote on it. Alright. What's better, Blounds or Mad Party? This is going to be fully decided by the chat. Fully decided by chat vote. Blound or Mad Party, which is better? 1 minute to vote. If you're not already following, make sure you are so you can get in on the vote. Up at the top of the chat. All you have to do is click a circle and click vote. Blounders, we need you now. It looks like Blound will win, but Mad Party's still in tier 2. That's all that matters. The Blounders go strong. Yo, what's up, Heg? My boy, Heg. Alright, on to tier C. C tier. Mad Party's more consistent than Blounds. Mad Party's more consistent than Blounds, but has a lower ceiling. But I think having a higher ceiling is important in this format. Yo, what's up, Auto Chess? I disagree on guard, but I think it's fine here as the second in tier T. Yeah, Pika Rom tier 3 because it lost everything with rotation. So let's talk about this. What the hell is the top of tier C? No, Pika can still hang. Just nobody at all is playing it, and that's why it has 0 results. Okay, so I think the Firebox stuff, Pika, Draga, and ADP, Decidueye and Decidueye, I think these are like the top of the top. I feel like this shouldn't matter too much because like it's tier C we're talking about now. You know what, we're going to leave this unordered because we will be here all night trying to order this. I'm just going to save myself the sanity. There's no deck in S tier because I don't think there's any deck that's BDIF. But we could definitely get a BDIF as the meta continues to form. But right now, we don't have one. Auto Chess, I think you came in recently, so I'll tell you that what I said earlier was, if I had to make a tier list with an S tier deck, I would put Eternatus there because I think it's the closest to centralizing the meta. Did I miss why ADPZ got put over Luke Metal Z? Curious on the explanation. I've been rolling ADPZ all day with Luke Metal. I think ADPZs without Tool Scrapper should be slightly favored to Luke Metal. But ADPZ's overall stronger deck, and they should just play Tool Scrapper. Like, they weren't playing Tool Scrapper because people are greedy, but they should have been anyway. And even if they're not, it's barely favored for Look Metal. IMO, of course, because tier lists are opinions. Okay, so I think we have finished our community tier list for the post-rotation standard format of Team Up Through Darkness Ablaze. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. And I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.